Hello HEMA friends and welcome to this new video. Today we are going to give a look to 5 common errors in HEMA. Now the first error which I'm going to analyze is pretty common actually, and it's related to that footwork that you may apply on the verge of the safe distance or the approaching distance or the Zufechten or whatever you want to call it. So when you are approaching your opponent and you are still more or less at safe distance and you enter into the, let's say, fighting distance, so the distance at which things may happen and may happen relatively fast. Now when you are approaching that distance, the best idea is to do it with tiny steps. And if you want to attack the opponent, so you want to get even closer, you have to do it with even tinier steps. It's a very good idea. But sometimes people approach their opponent, reach the verge of the safe distance, and they start to do giant step in and out of that distance. Generally speaking, passing steps. So they do 1, 2, especially maybe they are on one tag, they start to do this kind of things. And that thing is actually extremely risky in a sense that it may happen that your opponent may strike a thrust at you when you are moving forward, and most probably you would not even be able to see that thrust coming, because like speed plus speed, it's a huge problem. And to fix that problem, you actually have to do a very simple thing. You have to, first of all, understand more or less which one is the safe distance against that specific opponent. So you have to be aware to not breach that distance with giant steps. So not doing passing steps on the verge of that distance. If you want to approach the opponent farther, you have to do it with tiny steps. Ideally speaking, fencing steps, half steps or whatever you want to call them, a crescer, as Fiore says. So tiny little motion to approach the opponent at that distance. And this is the way to approach the opponent which grants you the most safety, let's say, so that the opponent will not exploit your steps forward in an easy way. It still may happen, of course, everything can be exploited in fencing, every time, every movement, whatever, but it's really, really hard compared to doing giant steps in and out of distance. So the second error I wanted to talk about is actually something that I generally do sometimes, especially when I'm tired, and which I'm trying to fix. Now I am talking about how I retreat my arms, and it's relatively common, of course, it's something that I see in many other fencers. The way in which I am retreating my arms after landing an attack, especially an attack which lands, and especially a downward strike. So what happens, and this happens generally when I'm trying to defend with distance, is that I land my attack, let's say that there is an exchange, whatever, per riposte, or I'm just landing a straight attack, and after landing the attack, I want to retreat backward. So the ideal way to retreat backward is to keep the weapon in front of me and moving backward. Instead, what I do is that after landing the attack, because it's easier, I retreat back and I lower my arms and my weapon, because of course doing this kind of thing is tiring. And so especially when I am tired, I lower my arms. Now, even if I am defending with distance, it doesn't mean that I am safe. Even if I landed my strike, be it like a duel or a tournament or a sparring, there is of course also the afterblow rule in many contexts. So what happens sometimes is that my opponent takes this situation and this time to land an attack. And of course, for me it's quite hard to defend from that position because my hands are pretty low and I have to raise my weapon. Instead, by keeping the weapon, let's say in breve or whatever, defending both lines or simply raising the weapon to parry with the crossguard or whatever is far easier. And even the actual thing of having the weapon in front of me, even in these conditions, is actually defending me from many horizontal blows which can hit me in this kind of angles. So, common error, retreating backward and lowering the arms in the meantime. Best thing to do, retreating backward and keeping the weapon forward, ready for whatever, a parry, a counter-attack, or even an attack, if your first one didn't land. The third error I wanted to analyze is striking from too far away. Now, this actually happens as a solution sometimes to another problem. So, sometimes, especially in clubs which are full of beginners, which are growing more or less in an homogeneous way at the same time, they find out at some point, because of some motivation, maybe they start fencing with other people from another club which are more skilled, they start improving the levels of their equipment, or their protective equipment, and so the level of speed also of the fencing increases bit by bit. So they find out that they are fighting at a relatively short distance. And so this asks for a solution, and the solution is to fight from farther away, because being too close starts to become too risky. So the solution seems sensible, but sometimes it's pretty rough in their execution, let's say. So when people try to fight from farther away, they start first of all to land their attack from farther away. So maybe direct attacks such as thrusts, cuts, or whatever. Some people, because of extremely high athleticism level, is even able to do such a thing. But commonly is not a great idea. So avoid trying to attack from too far away. If you notice that you are striking your simple direct attack or even feints or whatever from too far away because you have a fear of entering that shortened, let's say, distance from which it is actually easier to strike, then you have to reconsider a couple of things. Actually, it is risky to get closer, but getting closer is extremely useful to land an attack. This is the problem of fencing, so there is not a simple solution. The solution most probably is not striking from too far away. It's not a solution. Most probably your attack will be parried every single time, and you will receive a lot of riposte or even thrust on tempo on your face. Instead, the solution to the problem is to learn how to approach that distance, so how to enter distance bit by bit without getting noticed by using provocations, feints, tiny steps and whatever, so to get at a distance which makes for the possibility to strike in a clean way. This is the solution to the problem, not striking from farther away. The fourth error is actually connected to the solution of the previous one. And the fourth error is hesitating while being at a short distance. Now, this happens when you are approaching the opponent, you are very tense, you want to land your attack, but you are searching for some specific time. You are actually reacting to what the opponent is doing. You are hoping to see some kind of opening or whatever that inspire you a sense of safety so that you are able to land your attack in the way that you know you are able to do in that specific conditions. Now, this kind of thing is terrible because from the outside it simply looks like you are close, pretty close actually, and you hesitate, you are stuck. So a smart opponent, as soon as you see you hesitate while being under distance, strike at you. Or at least it may try. It may work or not, but he will probably try. If it happens, chance is that if you were hesitating in that conditions, you will receive the attack and it will be hard or impossible to parry it. So the solution to this is simple. When you are approaching an opponent to land your own attack, you have to pay attention at how much time you have to pass at a closer distance while preparing your attack. You can't stay there too much. If something doesn't work, you have to go backward. You have to flee and reset. If you feel that you are not able to land it, if your plan goes wrong or whatever, remaining there and searching for some specific time, some specific condition to land your attack is a very bad idea. Because if you wait for that conditions, you will receive a hit on your face, most probably. The last error actually is something that you think, not that you do, or actually something that you think that make you do something wrong. And it is the fact of thinking of being fast. Now, this is something that I discovered while teaching to dozens of people, which is the fact that when you think to be fast, when you're trying to attack and you want to be fast, what happens is that you move your leg first and then only after you reach forward with your hands. Now this happens every time. It happens when you are especially under tension during a tournament or whatever, and it happens to me too. So when you think to be fast, you start running. And the correct way of the human body to start running actually is to move the legs first. So when you do this kind of thing, so you think of being fast, you are actually not doing the most important thing while landing a straight attack toward your opponent, which is moving the hands first, because you put the weapon in front of you, which covers you and keeps you safe, of course, to a degree. When you land your attack, you have instead to think about the sequence of movement that you have to do. Or better, you have to think about your hands. You have to think about reaching forward with your hands. If you think about this thing, you will actually be fast. That kind of fast which makes your attack land more often than not. Instead, if you think about being fast, you start running, and you start running with your legs, and you move your legs first, and you will end up eating a counter thrust in some cases. As it happened to me most of the times, I tried to be fast in my head. Very good, people, we are at the end of this video. Thanks for watching as always. Remember to check my Patreon, link in the description, if you want to support me and the channel. Thanks for watching as always, and see you next time.